Hello everyone, welcome to Oliveboard. In this particular video, we are going to cover the RBI circular related to July 2025 month. So this is the part 1. The part 2 will also be soon released. Let's first discuss the agenda of this particular class. So there will be in-depth discussion related to the RBI circulars. I'll be also giving you some of the MCQs for your practice at the end of this session, and we'll be having a quick revision at the end of this particular session. So the first circular is RBI prepayment charges on loans direction 2025. So RBI has recently released this particular direction, and especially to protect the borrowers like individuals and micro and small enterprises from the unfair prepayment penalties and restrictive lending clauses, right? So big players are imposing penalties and there are certain restrictive lending clauses as well. Let's suppose you are a borrower, you are an individual, you have paid your loan, you have prepaid your loan. What do you mean by prepayment? Let's suppose the loan tenure was of 6 years. However, you have paid it in 3 years only or in 1 year only. So they will be imposing penalty on you. Why? Because they are also having a loss of interest, right? They are also having a loss of time value or an opportunity they can earn from you up to the coming 6th year. But as of now, you have repaid it in 1 or 2 years. So definitely they are charging you penalties. So the problem was different regulated entities are having different practices which are quite inconsistent, and prepayment charges related to the borrower's grievance, right? So the concerns were hidden charges plus the restrictive clauses were there. So what RBI did is RBI has drafted a proper direction for the prepayment charges on loan. Okay. So this particular direction applies to the commercial banks, cooperative banks, NBFCs, and even AIFIs. In India, we are having 5 All India financial institutions, right? So definitely all the loans and advances are covered here, and those loans that are sanctioned on or are renewed or re-renewed after the 1st January 2026, then this particular direction will be compulsorily applicable. So this direction comes into effect on or after 1st January 2026. Loans sanctioned or re-renewed after 1st January 2026. The very first thing of this particular direction, the RE shall adhere to the following directions related to the prepayment charges on all the floating rate loans and advances. So the very first thing is this is applicable on all the floating rate loans and advances. For all the loans granted for purpose other than business to individual, let's suppose I have taken a loan from a regulated entity like HDFC Bank, and that is for my personal purpose or any other purpose, but not business. So RE has given loan. The purpose is other than business to individuals. Here the RE, the regulated entity, shall not levy any prepayment charges. The very first thing, this is not at all a business loan. I am an individual. They won't be levying any prepayment charges on me if the loan is of non-business purpose and I am an individual. A big relaxation to the individuals, right? Next conditions are as follows. For the loans granted for business purpose, if the loan is granted for business purpose, however, it is granted to even individuals or MSE, then in that case, if you are a commercial bank, if you are a tier 4 primary cooperative bank, or you are a NBFC upper layer, or you are a All India financial institution, in that case you won't be levying any prepayment charges. However, whenever I talk about commercial bank, it will exclude here small finance bank, regional rural banks, and local area bank for the purpose of this particular direction. Okay. So if small finance bank का केस है तो definitely वो लगा सकते हैं. RRB का केस है तो definitely उनके लिए कुछ अलग provision है. First thing, loans and granted दिए, loans grant किए किसको? Individuals को for business purpose. In that case, you for non-business purpose. Sorry, loans given by regulated entity for non-business purpose to individual, no prepayment charge. If you are a commercial bank other than SFB, RRB, or LAB, or you are a tier 4 primary cooperative bank, or you are a NBFC upper layer वाली, और यू आर AIFI, आपने बिजनेस के लिए लोन दिया है किसी इंडिविजुअल को और MSE को, तो इन दैट केस ऑल्सो यू वॉन्ट बी एबल टू अप्लाई द प्रीपेमेंट चार्जेस. नेक्स्ट इज इफ यू आर अ स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक और अ रीजनल रूरल बैंक और अ tier 3 primary cooperative bank or a state cooperative bank or a central cooperative bank or a NBFC middle layer. Upper layer तो we have already covered above. if you are an NBFC middle layer, you have given loan for business purpose to individual or MSE, then in that case you won't be applying any prepayment charge on loans with sanctioned limit or limit up to 50 lakh. So beyond 50 lakh you can definitely apply, but however if the loan is up to 50 lakh you won't be able to apply any prepayment charges. Okay, as per my opinion, as per my understanding, this point is very important for your examination, this limit of 50 lakh up to 50 lakh on which no prepayment charges will be there. Okay, so do read it very well. So I have summarized each and everything for you guys in a tabular manner so that it becomes easy for you guys to remember. If you are an individual, you have taken a non-business purpose loan, all the regulated entities, nobody can apply any prepayment charge on you. If you are an individual or MSE, you have taken a loan for the business purpose, you have taken from a commercial bank excluding SFB, RRB, LAB, or you have taken loan from Tier 4 Urban Cooperative Bank or NBFC upper layer, or an AIFI, no charges will be there. Third case, you are an individual or MSE, business purpose के लिए लिया, किससे लिया? SFB, RRB, Tier 3 Urban Cooperative, State Central Cooperative और NBFC middle layer से लिया, no charges up to 50 lakh, no charges up to 50 lakh. If you cross the limit of 50 lakh, definitely charges can apply. They may apply the charges. These directions are applicable irrespective of the sources of fund. It doesn't matter what is your source of fund from which you are repaying the loan, right? Why bank will care about that? So this direction will definitely apply. You can do the full prepayment or maybe you are doing partial prepayment. This direction will be applying on the both. Prepayment is made from any source. It doesn't matter you have any source for the prepayment, plus there is no lock-in period as of now which is required, right? If anything is not covered by this direction, so that maybe any charges can be applied. Apart from whatever is stated in this direction, you can definitely draft an internal policy. Let's suppose I am a regulated entity, for example SBI Bank. All the directions that are there in this direction, I'll be complying with those. If nothing is written in this particular direction related to a specific charge, then I can also form the internal policy and apply the charges. Okay. So the term loan charges should be on actual prepaid amount and not on the total value. मान लो if you are paying 2 lakh rupees as prepayment, so definitely the charges will be there on the prepayment amount only, that is 2 lakh, not more than that. Charges on closure before the due date should be on the sanctioned limit only. In case of credit card, in case of cash credit and overdraft facility, charges can be on the sanctioned limit only. And let's suppose if the borrower has already declared that he won't be renewing the CC or overdraft, in that case no charges can be applied on such kind of facility. These are the basic things that you need to know. If the regulated entity initiates a prepayment, let's suppose HDFC Bank is asking you guys to repay the loan, no charges can be levied in that case. अरे RE की तरफ से इनिशिएट हुआ है ना, फिर काय का चार्ज? सही है. Disclosure requirement clearly need to mention in the sanction letter. If you want to apply any charge, you need to clearly write in the sanction letter. However, you cannot apply any kind of charge which is in contravention with this direction. So everything should be clear cut stated in the sanction letter and the loan agreement itself. So there is no confusion at all. Key fact statement के अंदर भी present होना चाहिए, plus no hidden or retrospective charges are allowed. कोई भी hidden charge नहीं. What is retrospective? Back date से charge लगा दिया, नहीं लगा सकते. You cannot apply retrospective charges after this direction. Okay. So I have given summary pointers as well. Do remember that this particular guideline will apply from 1st of January 2026. जो loans आपने इसके डेट के बाद लिए, इस डेट पे लिए, या फिर any renewal का केस है, री-renewal का केस है और इस डेट के बाद फॉल कर रहा है. Next is related to Basel III capital requirement. So there is a external credit rating assessment institution, ECAI. Earlier what used to happen is there are only 3 international credit rating agencies. Banks are permitted to use the credit rating agencies, only these 3 credit rating agencies. If you are obtaining any credit rating for the purpose of risk weighting on the different foreign entities for capital adequacy purpose, if you are doing any risk weighting process, so their claims on the different foreign entities for the capital adequacy purpose, then you can take on the credit ratings only from these 3 institutions. Fitch, Moody's, S&P, Standard and Poor. Now there is a addition in this list. CareEdge Global IFSC Limited is also included in the list for risk weighting their claims on the non-resident corporates originating at the IFSC. We all know about IFSC. So here a new entity which is CareEdge Global IFSC Limited for risk weighting purposes there on the non-resident corporate entities that are originating in the International Financial Service Center. Very, very important for your examination. Please do remember the name of this entity, CareEdge Global IFSC Limited. Right? Next is lending against gold and silver collateral. Voluntary pledge. Let's suppose you are a regulated entity is lending against gold and silver collateral. However, there is no such pledging requirement. Okay, there are some loans related to gold and silver for agriculture and MSME loans. For agriculture and MSME loans, let's suppose you are giving gold or silver as a collateral, which is not at all required. It's a collateral free loan. Still you are giving as a voluntary pledge. So this won't amount as kind of any kind of contravention. Okay, this won't be creating any kind of contravention. बढ़िया है ना आप अगर voluntary pledge कर रहे हो. So that's good. So RBI released a circular regarding this because there was so many confusions in the market. That's why RBI released a circular and confirmed that banks are allowed to accept gold and silver as voluntary collateral for loans to the sector, even when the loan amount falls within the collateral free lending limits. Collateral free loan मिल रहा है, it is allowed. Still you can take the voluntary collaterals. Okay, that's totally fine. Banks were having confusions whether this taking of voluntary collaterals will be any kind of contravention of the guidelines, but no such contravention is there. If the borrower wants to keep a voluntary collateral, then definitely it's no contravention, and that's what is there in this particular circular. Next is inclusion of NSDL Payment Bank Limited in the second schedule of RBI. So now NSDL Payment Bank is also a scheduled bank. It is registered under the second schedule of RBI. So please do remember the name of this particular bank. Next again is a direction. It's just an amendment which is not important for your examination. Okay, so I have just pasted the screenshot. You can ignore this as well. Next is not a full-fledged direction. It is a draft direction. As of now, it is a draft direction. Reserve Bank of India, novation of OTC derivative contract, which is a draft direction as of now. However, because this is related to your derivative chapter, which is there in your syllabus, that's why I have covered it, and we'll be definitely discussing this particular draft direction as well. Okay. So RBI has recently released a draft direction on the novation of OTC derivative contract. Now, before starting this particular direction, I would like to tell you what OTC derivative is all about first. Then we'll be understanding the rest of the things, right? We all know that derivative is a financial contract, right? And the price changes on the basis of the underlying asset. The price of the derivative contract changes on the price of the underlying asset. But there are two types of derivative contracts. It can be exchange traded. It can be over the counter as well. Now, as the name says it all, this is over the counter. That means we have entered into a contract directly with the counterparty, that too on a table, right? Over the counter पे बैठ के we have entered into a contract, right? So that means if A wants to be an agreement, a derivative contract with B, he will be directly doing that contract. There is no exchange in between. That's why we call it as over the counter. दोनों parties counter पे बैठ के contract कर लेंगी. OTC contract, no exchange is there in between. So because this is a OTC contract, this is highly customizable. Okay, we can easily customize it because that's a over the counter contract, and that's not at all a exchange traded contract. And here we can see a financial contract, example forward contract or swap contract. These are OTC contracts. Okay, not traded on formal exchange. This is not at all traded on a formal exchange, but negotiated directly between the parties. It can be traded electronically. However, this is not at all a exchange traded contract. Okay, there is no exchange involved in between. The parties have directly made the contract. That's called as OTC. Now, what do you mean by novation in the OTC derivative? So let's take an example quickly and try to understand the novation concept in the OTC derivative. let's suppose there are three parties. Okay, let's suppose there are three parties, Mr. T, me, and one more party, which we can call it as Mr. RP. Okay, Mr. RP. So Mr. T, Mr. RP, and Prateek. Mr. T and Mr. RP are already, they have already signed a OTC contract. They have already signed a OTC contract, right? Now Mr. T is not interested in this contract, or he just want to get out of this contract, so he can opt for a novation. He can propose a novation here. That means I will be taking over from now onwards. So Mr. T will transfer the contract to me, and I will be the new concerned party here. Mr. RP will be in touch with me from now onwards because that's a novation, right? तो यहाँ पे मिस्टर टी हट जाएंगे इस एग्रीमेंट में से और मैं आ जाऊंगा इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के अंदर. अब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किसके बीच में रह जाएगा? मेरे और मिस्टर आरपी के बीच में रह जाएगा. ओके, हियर मिस्टर टी विल बी कॉल्ड एज द ट्रांसफरर. मिस्टर टी विल बी कॉल्ड एज अ ट्रांसफरर. ओके, आई विल बी कॉल्ड एज अ ट्रांसफरी, जिसको ट्रांसफर हो रहा है. देखो, जो ट्रांसफर कर रहा है ही विल बी कॉल्ड एज ट्रांसफरर. जिसको ट्रांसफर हो रहा है, न्यू पार्टी, I will be called as transferee, and Mr. RP will be called as remaining party. Remaining party. Okay, so here I have mentioned the definitions. Transferor means the original market maker who exits the contract. So Mr. T here exits the contract. Mr. T is the transferor. Remaining party, Mr. RP is the remaining party, and transferee, I am the transferee. I am a new party to the contract. I will be the new market maker. I'll assume all the obligations of the transferor, right? So कुछ नहीं हो रहा, एक पार्टी जा रही है, दूसरी पार्टी आ रही है. This is nothing but a novation. Okay, this is nothing but a novation. So novation refers to substitution of one party in an existing contract with another party. Substitution of what party? Here one party is Mr. T with another party, so another party is me, right? Creating a new contractual relationship. So don't you think that this is a new contractual relationship between me and Mr. RP? Okay, we can see here novation means replacement of the market maker with another market maker in the OTC derivative contract between two counterparties. Sir, why it can only happen in the OTC market? The very first thing, ये सिर्फ OTC में ही हो सकता है. It can happen only in the OTC. Why? Because exchange traded contracts के अंदर there is an exchange in between to facilitate the transaction, right? If you have bought a derivative contract, let's suppose if I have bought a derivative contract with NSE, National Stock Exchange, which is a stock exchange in India. NSE is responsible for matching the buyer and seller, right? NSE is responsible for matching the buyer and seller. I cannot exit the contract and give it to someone else. That process NSE will in itself do. Okay, I can directly sell my contract anytime because that's an exchange traded contract. But that's not the case with the OTC contract, which is over the counter. If Mr. T has entered into a contract with Mr. RP, Mr. T cannot, as per his own will, exit the contract anytime. No, that's not possible. It can happen only via mutual consent, right? It can happen only via mutual consent. So that's nothing but novation when one party exits the contract and a new party enters the contract, right? And it can happen only in a OTC contract, never in the exchange traded contract. That's why this particular draft circular is applicable only to the OTC contract. इसीलिए draft circular किस पे नहीं लग रहा, exchange traded contract पे नहीं लग रहा. Parties to the novation shall enter into a triple agreement. Okay, so यहाँ पे ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट हो रहा है. ऑब्वियसली मिस्टर टी, मिस्टर आरपी एंड द न्यू पार्टी. डोंट यू थिंक दैट हियर वी आर फॉर्मिंग अ ट्राइंगल, राइट? सो ये एग्रीमेंट जो होने वाला है, ये एक ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट होने वाला है, वेयर इन द ट्रांसफरी steps in the contract. I am the transferee, I am stepping in the contract, and the transferor is stepping out of the contract, right? I will be facing the remaining party 101 from now onwards. Okay, that's the concept. Novation in the OTC derivative contract. Novation leads to cancellation of the original agreement. Obviously, if the party to the contract is no more, right? He's exiting the contract. Mr. T is exiting the contract. So here the old contract or the original agreement gets cancelled, and establishment of a new contract will be formed between me and the remaining party, between the transferee and the remaining party, right? This mechanism will help managing the counterparty risk and maintaining the liquidity in the OTC derivative market. Huge problem in the OTC derivative market is liquidity. It is not liquid because no exchange is there to facilitate the transaction. What exchange is doing? Exchange is doing nothing but they are just matching the buyers with the sellers, right? Exchange is a place where every buyer has a seller and every seller has a buyer, right? However, there is no exchange in the OTC derivative contracts. So that's why there is a huge problem of liquidity in the OTC market. So here Novation is facilitating liquidity in the OTC derivative market. Let's have a quick look at this particular draft directions, what RBI is trying to say here. As of now, we have just covered the definition. We have just understood what is OTC, what is Novation. So Reserve Bank of India has issued a Novation of the OTC derivative contract 2025. This direction aimed to regulate the process of the novation in the over-the-counter derivatives as of now, okay? Why they are doing it? They are doing it to maintain consistency, transparency, and proper risk transfer. Look, derivative contracts do have a risk. They do have an embedded risk, right? So here Mr. T is a party with Mr. RP. They both have a contract. So Mr. T needs to ensure that they are doing a proper risk transfer to the new party, to the transferee. So proper risk transfer needs to be ensured because derivative contracts do have a embedded risk. RBI wants a better clarity, a better transparency, risks transfer properly and with consistency. That's why they are bringing these regulations, right? These directions will be applicable on all the derivative transactions governed under the RBI's derivative related regulations, and they do not apply when novation is done by a central counterparty for settlement purpose. So if it's a case of settlement, then this won't be applicable. Novation is due to merger, demerger, amalgamation, right? If merger is happening, demerger is happening, if amalgamation is happening, then in that case novation won't apply. Let's suppose Mr. T is merging with my company. That's why this novation is happening. So Mr. T will close down his company and will merge with my company. So because of that, we are doing this novation. So this particular direction will not apply because this novation is as a result of merger, demerger or amalgamation. Okay, amalgamation मतलब दो companies close down होती हैं, मिल जाती हैं, बंद हो जाती हैं और एक नई कंपनी फॉर्म कर देती हैं, थर्ड कंपनी, उसी को अमालगमेशन कहते हैं. ठीक है, मर्जर मतलब दो कंपनीज मिल रही हैं और एक कंटिन्यू करेगी. ठीक है, समझना बात को. ए एंड बी मर्ज हो रहे हैं और बी आगे कंटिन्यू करेंगे, तो ए बी के साथ मर्ज हो गया, दिस इज मर्जर. डी मर्जर, ए एंड बी साथ में काम कर रहे थे, अब डी मर्ज हो गए तो ए अलग काम करेगा, बी अलग काम करेगा. अमालगमेशन, ए और बी दोनों क्लोज हो जाएंगे, दोनों मिलके एक नई कंपनी फॉर्म करेंगे, ए बी लिमिटेड. देयर इज अ बिग डिफरेंस बिटवीन अमालगमेशन एंड मर्जर. मर्जर के अंदर ए और बी अलग अलग काम कर रहे थे, ए बी के साथ मर्ज हो गया, अब बी लिमिटेड ही काम करेगा. ठीक है, दिस इज द मीनिंग ऑफ मर्जर, डीमर्जर एंड अमालगमेशन. आई होप इट्स क्लियर नाउ. Okay, so they have given us the terms of central counterparty. Central counterparty means nothing but an entity that imposes itself between the counterparties to contract traded in one or more financial market, becoming the buyer to the every seller and seller to the every buyer. Basically ये exchange की तरह काम करने आ गए central counterparty. So ऐसे केस में ये particular direction नहीं अप्लाई करता है. Electronic trading platform we have already covered. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रेडिंग प्लेटफॉर्म का पूरा डायरेक्शन आया था 2025 का, जो हमने यूट्यूब पे कवर कर रखा है, आप उसको बाद में देख सकते हो. ठीक है, डेफिनेशंस वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड कि ट्रांसफरर, ट्रांसफरी, रिमेनिंग पार्टी क्या होता है. अब समझते हैं कि इस सर्कुलर का क्रक्स क्या है. ओके, वही हमारे एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, क्रक्स ही हमारे एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. गाइडलाइंस एंड मैकेनिज्म फॉर अंडरटेकिंग द नोवेशन. इफ यू आर डूइंग अ नोवेशन you need to follow certain code of conduct, right? Eligible market participants must undertake novation of the OTC derivative contract subject to the following. You need to comply with these kind of conditions here. The novation shall be done with the prior consent of the remaining party. जो मिस्टर आरपी है ना, अरे उनका कंसेंट जरूर ले लेना, एक प्रायर कंसेंट ले लेना. ऐसा नहीं कि मिस्टर टी डायरेक्टली एग्जिट कर रहे हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट से बिना मिस्टर आरपी के रिमेनिंग पार्टी के कॉन्सेंट के. फर्स्ट यू नीड टू टेक द कॉन्सेंट of the remaining party, then only you can exit the contract, right? That's the first rule that is being imposed by the RBI here. Why? Because usually transferor जो होते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, डायरेक्टली एग्जिट कर जाते हैं. नाउ इट इज अगेंस्ट द OTC कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. ओके, इट इज अगेंस्ट द OTC कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो RBI यहाँ पे क्लियरली बता रहे हैं, सर ये तो बहुत ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि कंसेंट लेना पड़ेगा. अरे मान लिया ऑब्वियस सी बात है, पर लिखा हुआ होना चाहिए ना, डॉक्यूमेंटेड होना चाहिए ना. नहीं तो मिस्टर टी तो बोलेंगे कि लिखा हुआ ही नहीं था, आई एम तो एग्जिटिंग द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, देयर इज नथिंग इन राइटिंग. तो RBI क्लियरली बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पे कि अगर आपको बाहर जाना है तो आप जा सकते हो, ठीक है, खुशी खुशी जाओ, पर कंसेंट होना चाहिए. किसका? रिमेनिंग पार्टी का, कि मैं बाहर जा रहा हूं और एक नई पार्टी अंदर आ रही है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के. फर्स्ट थिंग शुड बी कंसेंट ऑफ द रिमेनिंग पार्टी. ओके, सो डू रिमेंबर दिस. नेक्स्ट, ट्रांजेक्शन शैल बी अंडरटेकन एट द प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट. सर कौन सा ट्रांजेक्शन हो रहा है? देखो समझना, मिस्टर टी और मिस्टर आरपी के बीच में तो ऑलरेडी एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो चुका है, OTC. आई एम एंटरिंग इनटू द पिक्चर नाउ. सो क्या मेरा ट्रांजेक्शन नहीं हो रहा मिस्टर टी के साथ में? डेफिनेटली हो रहा है. ये किस पे होगा? प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट प्राइस पे होगा. किस पे होगा? प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट पे होगा. सब प्रिवेलिंग मार्केट रेट का क्या मतलब होता है? अरे मार्क टू मार्केट कर दो, M2M कर दो, मार्क टू मार्केट. 10 लाख रुपए का एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, ऑलरेडी मिस्टर टी इससे 1 लाख रुपए फेवर के अंदर आ चुके हैं. ठीक है, डेरिवेटिव कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वी ऑलवेज बुक इट इन मार्क टू मार्केट. ओके, सो मिस्टर टी ऑलरेडी इज हैविंग 1 लाख रुपी प्रॉफिट, लेट सपोज. सो आई विल पे 1 लाख रुपी टू मिस्टर टी, दैट्स ऑल. आई विल डायरेक्टली पे 1 लाख रुपी टू मिस्टर टी, दैट्स मार्क टू मार्केट. तो जो भी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू चल रही होगी, जो भी मार्केट प्राइस चल रही होगी, उस वजह से उस तरीके से यहाँ पे सेटलमेंट हो जाएगा. इजी. ओके, so novation shall be exchanged between the transferor and the transferee on the prevailing market price. so यहाँ पे transferor और transferee की बात करिए, मतलब मिस्टर टी और मेरी बात करिए. ठीक है, मिस्टर टी इज ट्रांसफरर, आई एम द ट्रांसफरी. we'll be doing the transaction at the prevailing market rate. that too we will mark to market. we will mark to market. I have given an example as well here, right? जो example मैंने quote किया था वही I have stated here. Next is the parties to the novation shall adhere to the provisions of the governing direction, this particular direction and the previously issued directions. Plus, the new contract should also be in compliance with the governing directions. जो नया contract होने जा रहा है मेरे और RP के बीच में, remaining party के बीच में, वो भी directions को comply करेगा. ठीक है, तो 3 सिंपल सी चीजें यार. सबसे पहले तो consent ले लो. ठीक है, सबसे पहले क्या ले लो? Take consent of the remaining party. Then the transferor and transferee needs to do transaction at the prevailing market price. that too they need to opt for mark to market value. that too they need to opt for mark to market value, and everything will be governed by the directions. So these 3 things as of now we have studied, right? Parties to the novation shall enter into a triple agreement. Why? Because we can see a triangle here, right? We can see a triangle here. Mr. T wants to leave, Mr. T wants to leave the contract. Mr. T wants to leave the contract. I want to enter into the contract. Mr. RP is the remaining party, so I'll be directly in touch with Mr. RP in the future. So don't you think that this is a triangle? This will be a triple agreement, okay? यहाँ पे triple agreement form किया जाएगा. If I am doing a novation, ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट फॉर्म किया जाएगा कि मिस्टर आरपी को कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है कि मैं ट्रांजेक्शन के अंदर आ रहा हूं, आई एम एंटरिंग इनटू द ट्रांजेक्शन. सो वेदर मिस्टर आरपी इज फाइन विद दैट और नॉट, राइट? देयर शुड बी अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट हियर. ओके, सो एंटर इनटू अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट. द ओरिजिनल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट शैल बी एक्सटिंग्विश्ड. जो पहले इन दोनों के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, दैट इज नाउ ओवर, दैट इज कंप्लीटली एक्सटिंग्विश्ड एज ऑफ नाउ, and shall be replaced by a new contract. अब नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आ जाएगा भाई, राइट? विथ आइडेंटिकल टर्म्स एंड पैरामीटर्स. टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस आइडेंटिकली रहेंगी जो पुराने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में थी. However, in the old contract, obviously the name of Mr. T is written. How can we continue it, right? That's why we have drafted a new contract which will succeed the old contract, right? याद तक सही है? And you need to follow the specific criteria as well. The counterparty credit risk and market risk arising out of the OTC derivative contract is transferred from the transferor to the transferee. समझना बात को. This particular contract is having certain types of risk and rewards, is having definitely certain types of risk. It can be credit risk, it can be market risk. So this risk should be transferred from the from the transferor Mr. T to Prateek, to the transferee. So risk कहाँ से कहाँ आ जानी चाहिए? ट्रांसफरर से ट्रांसफरी मेरे पास आ जाना चाहिए, मिस्टर टी से मेरे पास आ जानी चाहिए. यार ऑब्वियस सी बात है, नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एंटर कर रहा हूँ तो जो मिस्टर टी की रिस्क है वो सारी मेरी हो जाएगी, जो मिस्टर टी के अब से आने वाले रिवॉर्ड जो मेरे हो जाएंगे, ऑब्वियस सी बात है, राइट. सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज transfer all the kind of risk here, credit risk as well as market risk, to the transferee. Next, the transferor and the remaining party are each released from their obligation. Transferor Mr. T and Mr. RP, भाई तुम दोनों रिलीज हो चुके हो पुराने ऑब्लिगेशन से. ऑब्वियस सी बात है, पुराना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही खत्म हो गया तो तुम तो रिलीज हो गए ना, अभी भी बंधे हुए थोड़ी रहोगे, राइट. अब तुम्हारा ये जो बॉन्ड था, तुम्हारा जो बंधन था, राइट, वो अब टूट चुका है. व्हाई? बिकॉज वी आर एंटरिंग इनटू अ न्यू ट्रांजैक्शन. नाउ आरपी इज बाउंड बाय माय ट्रांजैक्शन, आई एम बाउंड बाय आरपी's ट्रांजैक्शन, राइट. वी हैव एंटर्ड इनटू अ न्यू ट्रांजैक्शन. सो पुरानी बॉन्डिंग को खत्म करो, नई बॉन्डिंग को चालू करो. ओके. फीस एंड चार्जेस. नाउ दैट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट. फीस एंड चार्जेस. मिस्टर टी एंड आई एम डूइंग अ ट्रांजैक्शन for entering into an agreement, right, an OTC agreement. Definitely this transaction is happening on the prevailing market prices, on mark to market value. However, if Mr. T wants to charge any fees from me, he can do it. Mr. T can charge a fees from me, transaction fees के नाम पे या कोई भी fees के नाम पे मुझसे fees charge कर सकते हैं. And if I pay him the fees, if the fees has been agreed, this won't form part of the triple agreement. This will be outside the triple agreement. यार आप पुराना कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हटा रहे थे, नया कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ला रहे हो, तो वहां पे आरपी इज ऑल्सो द कंसर्न पार्टी, राइट. If I am scrapping the old contract and a new party is entering the contract, then here RP is also the concerned party. Why? Because he also needs to enter into a contract with a new guy. So that's why we were entering the triple agreement. But in case Mr. T is charging anything from me, if the transferor is charging anything from transferee additional apart from the mark to market settlement, any kind of fees or any kind of charge, he can do so, but that will remain completely outside the contract, outside the triple contract. You can form a new contract with the transferor and the transferee directly. Okay. Relevant documents related to the original OTC derivative contract and everything will be transferred from the transferee to the transferor to the transferee. Mr. T अपने सारे डॉक्यूमेंट मुझे ट्रांसफर कर देंगे फॉर ऑब्वियस रीजंस, क्योंकि मैं अब नई कंसर्न पार्टी हूं, राइट. Participants eligibility: only the market entities that have received prior approval from the RBI are permitted to undertake the novation transactions here. मैंडेटरी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन था और ट्रांजैक्शन रिपोर्टिंग भी होती है यहाँ पे. वी नीड टू कंपल्सरीली रिपोर्ट द ट्रांजैक्शन टू द ट्रेड रिपोजिटरीज और एनी अदर अथॉरिटी designated by the RBI from time to time. So these kind of novations, if they are happening, you need to report them to the trade repositories, and that's compulsory, or any other authority as mentioned by the RBI. Okay. So process execution, the operational procedure for carrying out the novation, that needs to be very, very clear. Okay. Obtaining prior consent from the relevant parties and verifying all the terms and conditions before the new contract is identified. Obviously बात है यार, consent लेना है, पहले ही बात हो गई थी. If you talk about the documentation, then FIMDA, Fixed Income Money Market and Derivative Association of India, and the FEDAI, Foreign Exchange Dealer Association of India. Now the FIMDA and the FEDAI, as applicable in consultation with the market participants and based on the international best practices, shall devise a standard agreement for novation. ये बताएंगे, ये दोनों पार्टीज बताएंगी, FIMDA और FEDAI, कि तुम्हारा नोवेशन का स्टैंडर्ड अग्रीमेंट कैसा होना चाहिए, व्हाट शुड बी द फॉर्मेट ऑफ योर नोवेशन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. However, market participants may alternatively use a standard master agreement as well for novation. वैसे तो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस के हिसाब से ये दोनों ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बताएंगी. Still, if the market participant wants, they can enter into any kind of standard agreement. There is no compulsion in that, right? Reporting, you need to compulsorily report the novations of the OTC derivative contract to the trade repositories of Clearing Corporation of India here. Okay, that's compulsory. सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द मूव्स और डेफिनेटली काउंटर पार्टी रिस्क मैनेजमेंट. यार अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में रिस्क है और मैं आने वाला हूं उस केस के अंदर, मिस्टर टी जा रहे हैं, मैं आ रहा हूं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में, सो आई शुड नो द रिस्क दैट इज देयर इन द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर काउंटर पार्टी रिस्क मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम विल बी इन प्लेस वंस दिस ड्राफ्ट डायरेक्शन इज आउट एज फाइनल डायरेक्शन. मार्केट लिक्विडिटी बनी रहेगी. ऑब्वियसली ओटीसी डायरेक्शन में देयर इज अ लैक ऑफ लिक्विडिटी, सो नाउ there will be liquidity because of the novation contract, standardized novation contract. Trade flexibility रहेगी, कोई भी कभी भी contract से आ सकता है, कोई भी जा सकता है. And global best practices, because in the matured financial markets this particular concept of novation is already there. In India we are still having a developing financial market, so we have also followed the global best practices here, right? I have given an example as well of novation here. Later on you can check this example as well for better understanding. Now let's discuss the next update, which is the financial inclusion index update. Okay, so RBI has released the data related to FII for March 2025. Okay, so the new data for the March 2025 is at 67, which has increased as compared to the March 2024. So March 2024 ka data was 64.2 and now March 25 ka data was 67. Okay, so there is definitely an increase. We all know that it is having three components in it: access, usage and quality. And now this time this particular increase from 64.2 to 67 is contributed by usage and quality dimension. So please do remember the data plus the driving reasons for it. Okay, this is driven by the usage and quality dimensions here. Okay, so this particular financial inclusion index was first published by RBI in August 2025 for the financial year March 2021 year. Okay, why we all know that why financial inclusion is inclusion is very important, and please do remember this particular data plus the parameters are access, usage and quality. What is access? Whether the banking infrastructure is available to the users or not. How many number of banking outlets are there? What is the internet and mobile penetration? A weight of 35% is given to this particular area. Then there is usage. How people are using it, how well people are using it, right? So number of deposits, credit card accounts, credit accounts, usage of digital payments, etc. Whether people are using it or not is having a 45% weight. Why? Because if people are not using this particular thing, then what is the use of it, right? What is the sense of it? So that's why usage is the most important thing. Then the last thing is quality, related to financial literacy, grievance redressal mechanism and consumer protection, which is the lowest weight of 20%. Okay, so please do remember the data, the driving reasons and the components for this particular thing, right? So the index varies from 0 to 100, where 0 represents the financial exclusion, where 100 indicates the full financial inclusion. I have posted a detailed video as well for this, right? Then here are some of the few MCQs for you guys, and I'll be giving you some of the MCQs for homework purpose as well. The very first thing is read the following statement and identify which of the following is true. The first statement: Financial Inclusion Index compiled and released by the Ministry of Finance every quarter. First statement. Second one: the FI index measures the financial inclusion based on access, usage and quality parameter. Third statement: the index of March 2025 stands at 67, indicating progress in the financial literacy and usage. Is it so? Point number fourth: quality parameter in the index refers to the grievance redressal, financial literacy and consumer protection. You need to tell me which of the following options, which of the following statements are true here. Which of the following statements are true here? Here the correct statements are only 2, 3 and 4 are true. Rest first statement is false, rest of the 3 statements are correct, right? Next, you need to arrange these 3 parameters of RBI's financial inclusion index in the correct descending order of their weights in the index composition. Okay, so you need to arrange in the descending order. जिसका सबसे ज़्यादा weight है उसको आप पहले रखोगे, उसके बाद उससे कम और उसके बाद सबसे least. So what do you think guys should be the correct choice here? Let me know in the comment section quickly before I move ahead. The correct choice here is option D. Okay, first is usage, then excess, and then quality. Okay, now here I am posting some of the questions for you guys. Here are some of the MCQs for you guys. You need to let me know in the comment section what do you think is the correct choice here. Okay, the first question: in July 2025 RBI permitted a new credit rating agency in addition to the existing agencies, right, as per the Basel III capital regulations. Now you need to tell me the name of that particular agency which was added. Okay, options are in front of you. Do let me know in the comment section what should be the correct choice of this particular question. Next is, which of the following is not a valid condition of novation of OTC derivative contract here as per the RBI direction? Let me know in the comment section. This is the homework question number 2. Homework question number 3: which of the following statement regarding the novation of OTC derivative under the RBI direction is incorrect? Okay, statements are in front of you. Pause the video, have a quick reading, and let me know in the comment section which one is the correct statement here, right? And as we discussed, let's have a quick revision. This is the end of the session. Let's have a quick revision before we end it. Okay, the first one is RBI prepayment charges. We discussed about the prepayment charges, that there were several inconsistencies in the RE, that's why RBI has introduced it, right? So here it will be applicable on the commercial banks, cooperative banks, NBFCs and AIFI. कब से applicable हो रहा है? 1st of January 2026 से apply हो रहा है. अगर इंडिविजुअल को लोन दिया है, लेट्स डू इट फ्रॉम द टेबल. अगर इंडिविजुअल को लोन दिया है फॉर नॉन बिजनेस पर्पस, सब आरई को कोई भी चार्जेस नहीं लगाना है. इंडिविजुअल एमएसई को दिया है फॉर बिजनेस पर्पस. कमर्शियल बैंक है, अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव टीयर 4 है, ठीक है, और एनबीएफसी, यूएलए, आईआईएफआई कोई भी चार्ज नहीं है. बिजनेस है, एमएसएमई है, बिजनेस पर्पस है. एसएफबी, आरआरबी टीयर 3 है, या फिर एनबीएफसी मिडिल लेयर है, तो फिर चार्ज लग सकते हैं अगर आपका लोन 50 लाख से ज्यादा है. ये वाला सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया है. ओके, सोर्स ऑफ फंड मैटर नहीं करता. प्रीपेमेंट फुल हो, पार्शल हो, डजंट मैटर. कोई भी लॉक इन यहाँ पे नहीं लगेगा, राइट? दीज वर द ब्रॉड एंड द की थिंग्स दैट यू नीड टू नो. नेक्स्ट इज कि इस वाली पर्टिकुलर एजेंसी को यहाँ पे एलिजिबल कर दिया है, केयर एज ग्लोबल आईएफएससी लिमिटेड को. वॉलंटरी प्लेज अलाउड है, इससे कोई भी कॉन्ट्रावेंशन नहीं होने वाला है फॉर एग्रीकल्चर एंड एमएसएमई लोन. दैट्स द क्लैरिफिकेशन फ्रॉम आरबीआई साइड, राइट? देन एनएसडीएल पेमेंट लिमिटेड बैंक लिमिटेड को यहाँ पे सेकेंड शेड्यूल का अंदर आपको एंट्री मिल चुकी है इन द आरबीआई एक्ट. सो नाउ इट्स अ शेड्यूल्ड बैंक हियर. Next was related to the novation of the OTC derivative. This is a draft direction. First we discussed what is OTC derivative. ठीक है, ओवर द काउंटर मतलब टेबल पे बैठ के हुए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स. फिर हमने नोवेशन की बात करी थी. इट इज नथिंग बट अ सब्सटीट्यूशन ऑफ वन पार्टी and forming a new contractual relationship here, right? We discussed about the 3 parties here. Then we understood कि यहाँ से consistency, transparency and risk transfer आने वाला है और किसके ऊपर ये direction apply होने वाला है, right? Then we discussed these terms कि novation का क्या मतलब होता है. Now novation requires a consent of the remaining party. तो remaining party का आपको यहाँ पे क्या करना पड़ेगा? consent लेना पड़ेगा. Plus the transaction to be undertaken on the prevailing market price, mark to market value पे आपको यहाँ पे ट्रांजेक्शन करना पड़ेगा. एंड द पार्टीज टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट नीड्स टू अडर टू द पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन, राइट? ये क्या है? ट्रिपलेट एग्रीमेंट बनता है, ट्राई पार्टी एग्रीमेंट बनता है. ये 3 पार्टीज होती है बेसिकली इसके अंदर, राइट? सो द पार्टीज टू द नोवेशन विल बी एंटरिंग इनटू अ ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट हियर, राइट? ओरिजिनल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट खत्म हो जाएगा, एक्सटिंग्विश हो जाएगा. ट्रांसफरर एंड द रिमेनिंग पार्टीज आर रिलीज फ्रॉम देयर ऑब्लिगेशंस. ऑब्वियसली ट्रांसफरर और रिमेनिंग पार्टी का जो दोनों का ऑब्लिगेशन था वो खत्म हो जाएगा. इट्स अ न्यू कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इन प्रोसेस. ओके, फीस, अच्छा फीस का अगर कोई है, अगर कोई जो पार्टी जा रही है वो आने वाली पार्टी से कुछ चार्ज कर रही है तो इट विल बी आउटसाइड दिस ट्रिपल एग्रीमेंट. ओके, सो दीज थिंग्स आर मेजरली दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. डॉक्यूमेंटेशन विल बी एज पर द फिम्डा. And reporting is compulsory to the Trade Repository of Clearing Corporation of India Limited, right? So these things we have discussed. Then we discussed about the Financial Inclusion Index. 67 का value है for March 2025 as compared to the earlier one, 64.2. This is driven because of the usage and quality, right? So I think these major things that we discussed today, and the highest weight in the Financial Inclusion Index is of the usage, right? So thank you so much guys for today. See you soon in some other video. Bye bye. Take care.